Hi everybody, welcome along to today's webinar on solar energy. Guys, my name is Lucas Rogers and I'm your speaker for today. I'm also the CEO of the Rogers Property Group and also our construction company, which is called RPG Homes. For those of you who don't know me, a little bit about my background is, look, I started off as a chartered accountant. I used to work for one of the big four accounting firms before I moved to London, and I worked in investment banking in London for about 7 years. Then I returned back to Australia and I set up the Western Australian branch of a large property investment and development firm. I moved back to my home state of Queensland and set up my own business, which is called the Rogers Property Group. I'm also a qualified financial planner. I'm a qualified mortgage broker. I've got a full principal real estate license in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria and Western Australia. I've written books on property investment. And, to be honest with you, solar energy for landlords is one of the most exciting and lucrative things that I've seen come out for property investment and landlords in recent years. It really is amazing and it's very, very lucrative. And I'm sure at the end of today's presentation, you'll think the same. This presentation, it's not really so much focused on, the great things behind the environmental, presence of solar energy and how great it is for actual homeowners, but it's more so focused on what a great investment it is for landlords. Solar energy has been growing immensely over the last few years for more so homeowners. And I mean, really, you can see why. I mean, it's not only is it fantastic for the environment, but also once installed, it's actually free energy. And I mean, this is great because energy prices have been going up significantly in the last few years. They've actually doubled in the last 10 years. So, I mean, if you're a homeowner and you've got solar, then great, you're no longer a slave to the energy companies. And, I suppose you can use a little bit more power yourself and not feel penalised. But what the strange thing is that solar energy has never really taken off with landlords, never really taken off for any type of property investment. And, very few landlords actually have solar and are utilising it as a second source of income from their investment properties. This is strange, and there's a number of reasons why this is so, which I'll get into a little bit later on, and how we at the Rogers Property Group and RPG Homes have managed to overcome these obstacles and therefore make solar energy for landlords such a lucrative investment. What I'm going to explain to you tonight is how solar energy can be an excellent second source of income for your investment property, and also why it is such a great source of income. We're also going to be going through some basic returns and cash flows on solar, and you'll see that the return on investment for solar energy for landlords, if done right, can be around or starting at around 20% return on investment. That's right, 20% return on investment in year one and then increasing every year after that. So it's a very, very lucrative thing if done correctly. And as I said, at Rogers Property Group and RPG Homes, we've actually been instrumental in being able to overcome the obstacles for landlords to be able to have such a great investment out of solar. So look, let's kick on anyway. Who should be watching this video? Who's it really aimed at? Well, both landlords and homeowners can be watching this video, but we're really more focused on landlords itself. And as I said, as to why solar energy is such a good investment for landlords. At RPG Homes, as I said, we've really revolutionised solar energy for landlords, and we've made it such an amazing investment for them. And the reason we've been able to do that is, and I won't go into it too deep just at the minute, but we've been able to have a specialised billing and metering system so that we can meter out who's actually using the solar energy and where that's going, and allowing that to be billed back to the tenants and also the energy companies as well. It's very, very unique, and it's only unique to RPG Homes and the Rogers Property Group. So you can't get it anywhere else. So I'm going to go into just a little bit more detail about that later on. But first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the benefits of having solar energy. So obviously the first benefit as a landlord, why are we so focused on having it? Well, it's going to increase our cash flow. It's going to increase our cash flow dramatically, and we're going to have a look at that a little bit later on. And we're talking about a couple of $1,000s a year. And I mean, when you know, that's $20, $30 per week. So it is a huge cash flow incentive there. It's also going to secure our tenants. It's going to secure our tenants because as the landlords and as the owners of the solar system that sits on our house, we're going to be charging the tenants back for the solar electricity. But we're going to be able to give them, because we are actually the energy provider, we're going to be actually able to give the tenants a 25% discount on their energy bill by selling them back solar electricity. So I mean, as a tenant, I'm sure they're going to be rushing to embrace a 25% discount on their power bill. I mean, who wouldn't do that? I mean, tenants generally are renting for a reason, because they don't have enough money to buy and they're in the lower to middle income bracket. So of course they're going to be looking to save money on their power bills. It also, another benefit is it also improves the value of the premises. I mean, it has a huge it has a huge implication on the house because of the fact that it does improve the value so much because of the fact that it can increase cash flow. And then if the house was ever to be sold off to an owner-occupier, obviously the owner-occupier is going to look favourably upon that house because it has solar energy provided to it. So it definitely improves the overall value of your investment there. And finally, let's not forget that you are helping the environment as well. And I think that's nothing to be overlooked. I think these days there's so much coal power getting burnt, and burning of fossil fuels and all that. Why not go a bit green? I think we can all do our little bit to help the environment out. Well, let's get back to the basics, and I'm going to explain to you exactly how solar power works and the hardware behind it all. So you can see from here this very simple diagram. The sun, is beating down on our house as it does, almost 300 days a year in Australia, or maybe more than that. And those black things that are sitting on the roof that you'll see on very few houses, they're obviously the solar panels. And I'm sure most people know what a solar panel looks like these days. Now, the number 2 there, that's the inverter. So the solar panel actually produces electricity, and the inverter changes that electricity into into electricity that can actually be used within the home. So the tenants can actually run their dishwasher, their iron, their microwave, their air conditioner, and so forth. So the inverter changes it into a form that can actually be used. Now, following on from the inverter, we also need a metering system as well. And at the Rogers Property Group, what we've done is we've come up with a couple of different metering systems that we can use so we can tell how much solar the tenants are actually using and how much is going back to the grid. And our grid supplier actually needs these two systems, or these two metering systems, which are specialised to RPG Homes and the Rogers Property Group, that nobody else has. So what these metering systems do is they work out how much solar that the tenants are using, and then whatever excess solar that the tenants are not using, that excess solar energy then gets sold back to your energy retailer and effectively goes back into what we call the grid system. Okay, so that's the way it works. Solar panels produce the solar, inverter transforms it to an energy form that we can actually use, and then we have various metering systems that tell how much solar is getting used by the tenants and how much is therefore going back to the grid. Okay, so that's a basic system of how it works. But there's a couple of things to remember when it comes to hardware for solar. And the most important thing to remember is that you need to buy a quality system. Very, very important. If you buy cheap panels, not only are they inefficient, they have a limited lifespan on them, they're inefficient in regards to how much energy they actually produce and how much you can actually sell on to the tenants and put back into the grid. Now, that's just basically one of the problems with cheap solar systems. One of the worst problems I suppose you can come across, I haven't seen it happen myself, but I've heard horror stories about it, that some of the cheap solar panels can actually catch fire on the roof of your investment property. Now, I couldn't think of anything worse as a landlord than I install solar on my investment property and the house catches fire. I'm not sure whether you'd actually be covered by insurance, but I mean, worse still, if there was a tenant inside or whatever, I mean, that would just be an absolute nightmare come true as a landlord. So it's very, very important that you get high quality panels. Now, at the Rogers Property Group and RPG Homes, we only use the highest quality panels that are available. They've all been third-party tested, and that's a very important part of the process. So they're going to cost a bit more, but I can say to you, you always get what you pay for. So go for the highest quality panels and high-quality inverters and metering systems that you can actually get. Okay, so the various sources of income or income streams that we can get from a solar system are as follows. Now, initially, when we put the solar system on the roof, the solar system actually costs a lot more than we actually pay for. And the reason being, so your average system might cost $13,000, $14,000, but the government actually gives us a rebate. It's a one-off rebate, depending on the size of our system, that we use to discount our solar system. Okay, so rather than it costing $13,000, $14,000, it's going to bring it back to $9,000, $10,000 or whatever that may be, depending on the size of your system, of course. So that's one income that we get back in the form of a one-off rebate that we get back from the government. Secondly, we can also sell solar to the tenants. Now, this is the most lucrative form of income that we can get from the solar system because it's the highest, and it's the one that increases consistently year after year at a very, very solid rate. So that's the one that we want to make most of our focus on, is selling solar power back to our tenants. And we also get the feed-in credits as well. So what we do is we're selling the excess solar, solar energy that the tenants don't use. We then sell that back to the energy suppliers, and they use it to obviously to sell off to somewhere else. And then also another income stream that we can get from our property is depreciation on our solar system. They're written off over a 20-year period on a straight line method, and that can be a significant amount depending on your taxable income. So the different income streams is initially a one-off rebate that we get from the government, the sale of the solar power to the tenants, which is the most lucrative, which we'll go into some more detail a bit later on, and also the solar feed-in credits that we're selling the solar energy back to the grid, and finally our depreciation as well. Okay, let's have a look at a little bit of background. We're going to have a look at some numbers now, and so we'll give a bit of background onto how we come up with the different numbers. Now, your average solar system is going to be about a 6.24 kilowatt system, and that's going to produce about 28 to 30 kilowatts of power per day, and that's how power is measured in kilowatt hours. Okay, so your average system is going to produce about 28 to 30 kilowatt hours. Now, if you go for a cheap system, it's not going to produce that much because they're very inefficient. So for a high quality system that we would use, it's going to produce about that much per day, depending on the amount of sunlight that it's getting per day. Now, we're going to assume that 50% of the power that our solar system produces is used by the tenants. Okay, and then we're going to assume that 50% of it is going to be put back into the grid or sold back to the energy company. Now, it's much more lucrative for us as landlords and as investors to be selling the solar back to the tenants. And the reason being is what we're going to do is we're going to peg our charge to the tenants, our solar charge to the tenants, off what the grid is charging. Okay, now the grid charges everybody at around, depending on what state you're in, or depending on what energy supplier that you're talking to, it's about 27 cents per kilowatt hour. Okay, that's the grid charge. Now we're going to give our tenants a 25% discount off that. Okay, we're going to give our tenants a 25% discount off that. So it's obviously much higher than what we're going to get from the grid credits, which are 12 cents per kilowatt hour. So what we want to try and do is encourage our tenants to use as much power as possible via the air conditioning, via putting their dishwasher on during the day and so forth, rather than doing that at night. Okay, let's work out some cash flows from this. The tenant usage, okay, they're using 50% of the power, so that's 14.5 kilowatt hours per day that they're using. Now, our charge is 27 cents, so that's the same as the grid charge, but we're giving them back, so we're discounting, I should say, 25%. So if we work that out, that's fairly easy to work out. We do 14.5 kilowatt hours times 27 cents times 75%, because remember, we're discounting it by 25%. So that means we're making $2.90 per day. Now, it doesn't sound a lot, but $2.90 per day that we're getting from the tenants works out to be about $20.50 per week, which is close to $1,100 per year. Now, that's a big thing to increase your rents by $20 per week. No one wants to get a rental increase by $20 per week, but if we can sell electricity at $20 per week, then we're in pretty good shape. And the tenants are going to love us because of the fact that we're discounting what they would have paid for electricity by 25%. Now, the great thing about electricity is not if you're using electricity from the grid, but if you're a solar owner or a solar investor, is the fact that electricity is going up so fast. So it's doubled in the last 10 years, so we're assuming it's going up by around 5 to 8% per annum. So that means that in year 2, our rate that we're going to be charging the tenants is also going to go up by that amount. So in year 2, we're looking at our solar energy that's getting charged back to the tenants at about $1,175. In year 3, it's going to increase to about $1,300. Year 4, $1,400. And you can see we're getting up to around $1,500 per annum in year 5. So the increases are huge and the returns are massive. Okay, so that's our first stream of income. Our second stream of income is going to be our feed-in credits. So where we're selling electricity back to the grid or back to the energy suppliers or energy retailers. So we're assuming that they're using 50%. Okay, now we get 12 cents per kilowatt hour that we provide back to the grid. So if we do 14.5 times by our 12 cents, we're only making $1.74 per day from selling electricity back to the grid. Okay, but over a space of a year, that's about $630. Now, unfortunately, the energy companies are very, very sneaky. So when they're charging us for electricity, they increase it by about 8% per annum. But when they're talking about paying us back feed-in credits for the electricity that we produce, it only goes up with CPI, which is about 2.5%. This is why it's important to sell as much of the electricity back to the tenants that we possibly can and give as little as we can back to the grid. But even still, that's about $650 in year 2, $65 in year 3, and then it's going to increase there in year 4 and year 5. So, even still, it's still going to be fairly lucrative from that regard as well. From a depreciation perspective, now, with depreciation in our system, we're going to get about $450 worth of depreciation per annum from our system over the straight line method, being depreciated over a 20-year period. Now, assuming for a moment that we're on 38 cents in the dollar as our tax rate, that means that we're going to be getting about 47 cents per day, which is $170 per year cash inflows. Okay, which is still pretty lucrative as well. So let's look at our total. In year 1, we're getting close to $1,100 from our tenants from them purchasing electricity from us at a 25% discount to the grid rate. Now, our feed into the grid, so our credits, that's going to give us $633. From our depreciation, our cash inflows from depreciation is $170. So you can see there we're about $1,800 per annum, or I shouldn't say per annum, in year one alone from selling solar, getting the feed-in tariffs, and also the depreciation. So our system in year one is giving us $1,800, nearly $1,900 in year one. Of course, our feed-in credits and our solar that we're selling to the tenants is going to increase in year two. So in year two, we're looking closer to $2,000. And I won't read all the numbers out to you, but you can see in year five, we're getting pretty close to $2,500 in return from our solar system. So it's it's a very, very potent source of income. It's quite amazing that not more people or not more landlords are actually using it. Okay, now look, if we're looking in the longer term, you can see here in year five, we've been through year five, we're looking at $2,500 there, return from our system. As we move up to year 10, we're getting $3,800 from our system there, cash inflows. And I mean, the returns as we get out to 20 years are quite amazing. If we look at the increases on the cost of power to your average consumer, we're pegging our cost to our tenants off that. Now, if electricity prices continue to increase the way they're going, then we're looking at close to a $9,000 cash inflow from our solar system as time goes on up to year 10. I mean, it's up to year 20, I should say. It's quite amazing, really, at the end of the day. So the return on investment in year one, we're looking at over 20%. In year five, we're looking at a 30% return on our investment. In year 10, over 40%. And getting right out there to year 20, we're looking at 100% return on investment year after that, increasing. Now, you just don't get that on any other types of investment, and especially not with property. I mean, the returns on investment in property aren't that strong. 100% return on investment year in, year out at year 20 plus, that's quite amazing. The payback period on the system is 4 years and under. I mean, it's really amazing. Imagine if you purchased an investment property and you were able to pay that back in 4 years, and then in 10 years' time, you're getting close to 50% return on your investment. I mean, you'd be rushing to get into it. And this is why I find solar so exciting. It's such an amazing investment for landlords. And it surprises me how it hasn't taken off in the past. But I can see the reasons why is because people haven't been able to access all 4 income streams. And it's only since we've developed a new billing system here at the Rogers Property Group and RPG Homes that we've been actually able to do that. Okay, you can't do it anywhere else. Okay, so as I said, the massive returns, and you've got to remember that these calculations are only based on your tenants using 50% of the energy produced. Imagine if you could get them up to using 100% of your energy produced. The returns would be even more lucrative. So that's what we aim to do. We try to get tenants to use more and more of our electricity by using their electrical items within the house during the day whenever we're producing the electricity. You can see here our return on investment. This is just simply graphed. The return on investments are huge. The ROI just continually increases year in, year out with the increases in energy prices. So it's a very, very lucrative form of investment. Our increases in our income, why do they keep increasing so strong, and why is it such a strong thing over time? Well, the power prices keep growing. They keep going up year in, year out. And the reason being is the energy companies have very old infrastructure that produces and distributes the electricity. That old infrastructure needs to be upgraded and continually replaced. You know, bushfire comes, you know, all the infrastructure is destroyed, or a lot, I shouldn't say all of it, but a lot of it's destroyed. That needs to be replaced. Who do you think pays for that? Well, it's the electricity consumer. So it's not just the production of the electricity, but it's the distribution and the constant infrastructure upgrades that you need to be paying for. And that's why it's going up so fast. Australian property prices are high, but not only that, Australian energy prices are the highest in the world. I mean, it's really amazing. We'll have a look in a moment. It's just surprising how high our prices are. I mean, people down in Adelaide are just getting absolutely smoked with the, with the prices that they're paying per kilowatt hour of electricity, which we're going to have a look at in a moment. So you can see here that I keep going on about property prices because I'm so used to talking about that. But you can see here that our energy prices in Australia have doubled in the last 10 years since 2006. I mean, it's been quite amazing, actually. And as I said, it's just the infrastructure needs to be consistently replaced and so on. Our power prices, as a comparison to our CPI, they're going up much, much faster than CPI. Much faster than CPI. You can see it clearly here from this diagram or this graph. As I said, our power prices here in Australia are some of the highest in the world. You can see here that South Australia, they're paying over 47 cents per kilowatt hour for energy. It's unbelievable. It really is. In Queensland, we're paying about 30, 35, 37 cents per kilowatt hour here, which is still very, very high. Why is solar such a great investment? Well, as I said, it's consistently increasing in income because power prices are continually growing. And if we're pegging our charge to our tenants off grid prices and they keep going up, well, then our return on investment continually increases as well. The tenants are going to love us. It makes you the best landlord in the world because of the fact that you're discounting power to your tenants by 25%. So what that means is the tenant's going to be happy and it's going to make your investment much more lucrative or much more attractive to a tenant because of the fact that they're saving money. I mean, what tenant doesn't want to save money? So if you've got a property that a tenant is potentially moving out of, they're going to be less likely to do that because they can save so much money on their power bills. And also, as I said, not to forget you're helping the environment as well. And I think we all need to be a little bit greener these days. The great thing about this investment is it's no work to you. There's absolutely no work to you. We take care of all the billing, etc. It's all done automatically for you. And this is a unique system that from the Rogers Property Group and RPG Homes. It's to be found nowhere else. So there's no extra work for you in gaining this great investment income. So why isn't anybody using it? Well, people aren't using it, or as I say, landlords aren't using it, because in the past they haven't been able to charge the tenants for the solar usage. Now, in the past, what happens is if the tenants put the electricity bill into their name, then you can't charge them for the solar power that they use from your solar system. In the past, what people have tried to do is put solar systems on their roofs and then charge the tenants more rent to take care of the electricity. But the tenants don't like that. The tenants see that as just paying more rent. They don't see it as though they're actually paying for power as well as their rent. They just see it as paying more rent. And it's hard to rent out those type of properties. Okay, they're not very attractive to tenants. But what we've been able to do is the tenant puts the electricity bill into their name, okay, but we're also able, because of our special billing and metering system, we're able to charge the tenants for the solar electricity that they use. And they're going to want to use that solar electricity because of the fact that they're getting a 25% discount to what they would have been charged from using retail energy. Okay, so it's only since we've come up with this specialized meter and billing system that we've been able to do that. And in the past as well, if you have had the tenants put the energy bill into their name, then you cannot claim back the feed-in credits or the electricity that you've been able to sell to the grid. So the landlord hasn't been able to get the income from the sale of electricity back into the grid. That's been going back to the tenants. But as I said, with our new meter and billing system, we've been able to overcome this and allow our landlords to be able to claim back those feed-in credits of the sale of the electricity back into the grid. It's quite amazing. I said it's quite amazing, and it's very, very unique to us. It's very, very unique to us due to our special metering and billing system only with RPG Homes and the Rogers Property Group. And as I said, it's enabled us to charge the tenants for solar, and it's also enabled our landlords to claim the feed-in credits as well. So not only are you getting the depreciation, but you're getting those other two income streams, which makes it a very, very lucrative investment. And what we also do at the Rogers Property Group and RPG Homes is we also encourage, we have a special system that, and it's quite sneaky really at the end of the day, because we have a special system that encourages our tenants to use more solar electricity. So we put everything in the house on timers so that they use the electricity throughout the day and not so much in the evening. And that means they're going to use more of our solar energy, or more of our landlord solar energy. And it's had some amazing, amazing results for our clients. It really has. In which we're going to go through a couple of case studies in a moment. So why is this such a good investment for you right now? Well, as I said, it's going to give you increased cash flow, massively so, close to $2,000 per annum, increasing by around 5+% per annum, depending on the increases in the cost of energy from the grid. Okay, it increases the value of your property, so it makes it a much more saleable item if you were to go and sell that property again. Certainly increases the value there. It also makes your property a much more attractive property to tenants. So if you've got a property in a great big new estate when there's thousands of other rental properties in there, you might want to try and differentiate your property by having solar power on there. It's going to make it much more attractive to tenants, because what we can then do is on the ad that you put out on realestate.com via your property manager, the headline's going to be 25% discount in your power bills due to solar. Do you think that's going to attract some tenants? It definitely is. It's at least going to get some people through your property. And then once you get tenants in there, they're going to be reluctant to move because they don't want to be paying an extra 25% on their power bills. So it's definitely going to make it a much more attractive property for tenants as well. Energy prices keep rising. So your return on investment, and this is a great part, your return on investment is just going to keep increasing. And it's not like you're the nasty person and you keep increasing rents on the tenants or anything like that. It's just that the grid power keeps increasing prices and you're still giving them a discount off that. So you're still looking like a great landlord, but you're still making more money because of the energy prices keep rising. And I can guarantee you one thing, they're not going to slow down, not at all. The solar power, it's important that you get in soon, because the solar power subsidies or rebates that we get up front are decreasing. They're actually going to be disappearing in the next quite a few years, but what the government's doing is decreasing that rebate over time. So the earlier you get in, the bigger rebate that you're actually going to get. It's also a great investment because it's very, very easy. We put the solar panels, we set everything up for you, we set up the billing, we set up the energy supplier, etc. You have got to do nothing, and it's such a great way to earn easy income from your property. It's effectively like getting a $20 or $30 a week rental increase. Can you imagine how many years need to go on before you can increase your rents by $30 per week? This is an instantaneous cash injection. And as I said, it makes it more attractive to tenants, and they're more likely to stay on for the longer term as well. And changing tenants around consistently is just an expense that you don't want to incur. Okay, so why RPG Homes? Why would you want to use us? Well, to be honest with you, you can really only use us if you're a landlord and you want to use solar as an investment and a second source of income, then you can really only use us, because we are the ones that have the unique monitoring, metering and billing system to enable you to gather those three different sources of income. We also, as I said, we're quite sneaky in the way we operate with the tenants. I shouldn't say sneaky, that's a bad word. What we're doing is we're encouraging the tenants to use more of the solar electricity that you as the landlord and your solar system is producing. And I mean, in effect, we're actually doing the right thing by the tenants, because they're not getting a 25% discount on any energy that they're using from the grid. You're only getting a 25% discount on the solar power that your solar system is producing and selling off to them. So we encourage them to use solar electricity created by you. And as I said, we supply them with timers. We supply them with special instructions on how to use more of the energy during the day and so forth. And it really does have fantastic results, as we'll go through in a moment. We have all the right legal documents, and this is a very, very important part of the whole process, because your tenants have to sign off on some legal documents to say that you are actually the one that can get the solar feed-in credits back, and that they're happy for you to sell them solar electricity. So it's very, very important that that process is done correct from a legal perspective. So we have all the right legal documents that they're going to sign off, the right legal documents that are going to go to the energy supplier, and everything that's included in the documents that the client signs off, or the tenant sign off when they take over the property. Okay, so and we also another add-on to that is we also have the right tenancy agreements that the tenants are going to sign off to give you clearance to sell them solar electricity. We do it all for you. It's nice and easy with RPG Homes and the Rogers Property Group, because we do the supply of the solar panels and all the hardware. We do the install as well. We set up all the billing, all the billing and all the monitoring for you. So you can monitor everything that's going through in real time on your phone, laptop, whatever that may be. So we've got everything set up to make it nice and easy for you. Okay, some case studies. This is where it starts to get great. I'll start off with probably my best one, Neil and Chris. By them installing solar, or by us installing solar on their rental property, they were actually able to increase their cash flows by a whopping $40 per week. That's $2,000 in year one alone. So their tenants were using a huge amount of electricity, and by encouraging the tenants to use the solar, and even with the 25% discount on the solar electricity used by the tenants, they were still, Neil and Chris were able to increase their cash flows by $40 per week, and over $2,000 in year one alone. And that's increased significantly since then as well. So they're a real success story, Neil and Chris. I'm very, very happy for them. Donna and Mike, they didn't do quite so well as Neil and Chris, because Neil and Chris are right out there in how well that they've done. So Donna and Mike, they increased their cash flows by $26 per week, about $1,300 in year one, just by us installing a solar system and the billing and metering system on their investment property. So great. And me, myself personally, look, I've had fantastic success as well. So I've increased my cash flow on some of my properties. Well, one in particular, I increased it by $22 per week, over $1,100 per year in year one. And the key part about this was, and I can't speak for other clients, but the key part about this was, from my perspective, I had a tenant that was going to leave. So what I did was I installed solar on the house and offered them a 25% discount on their electricity bill. They were amazed by that, and they decided to stay on because they were going to try and save some money by moving somewhere else. But by doing that, I actually, strangely enough, increased the rent by, so it looks like a rental increase by $22 a week, because I was able to charge them electricity, but they stayed on because they were saving 25% on their electricity bill. So it was an amazing outcome for me. So it saved me money on having to find another tenant, advertising and all that. So for me personally, it was a real success story. And this is why I've been encouraging so many of my clients to invest in solar. the returns are amazing, and it really is, as I said, the most exciting thing that I've seen so far as income for landlords that's been come out in the last few years. It's right up there with dual occupancy properties and so on. So, guys, you need to act now. As I said, the upfront solar rebate, it will be phased out. It's going out by 1/15 on the 1st of January every year. So it's going to be diminishing. So it's really a good idea to get involved as soon as you can and get involved straight away and start making money out of solar. It's a great investment. It really is. So, guys, look, I hope you've enjoyed this webinar and it's been enlightening for you. Please give us a call. Our number is 1300 148 178 or send us an email at info@rpghomes.com.au. Feel free to give us a call in the office and we can have a quick talk to you about it. But I hope this webinar has been of some assistance to you. I really hope that you investigate this further, but you really need to investigate it with RPG Homes and the Rogers Property Group, because we are the only ones that have the unique metering and billing system that allows you to actually claim those 3 different types of income streams from having solar on your house. So, guys, look forward to chatting with you soon. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please pass this on to any of your friends that have investment properties, and we'll chat again soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye then.